And to close out our summer series on Monagh at the Table, I'm joined today by Julie Burke, better known as Jules Rules Ireland, comedian, MC, mentor, winner of Network of the Year 2025 Network Ireland Galway. So we're in for a real treat today and no doubt some laughs along the way. Julie, welcome.
Thank you, Martina. That is some introduction. That I'll take it, but that is some introduction.
Well deserved. Oh my God, I am so happy for this conversation today. My goodness, I've been laughing all the way over here to this today. So I thought, Julie, we'd take it right back to the beginning. Introduce you to the diaspora, our American audience. I know you're well known
Wonderful.
at home, and maybe talk a little bit about, your own background and kind of what inspired Jules Rules Ireland.
Sure. So, my name is Julie. I'm 45 years of age. We know it's hard to believe, but it's true. I have two children that are both grown up now. My baby just turned 18 this week, and my daughter turns 21 next week. Very busy month ahead of us. I am very happily married to a wonderful man. I was born in Derry, believe it or not. A lot of people say to me, "God, there's no accent there." But I was born in the north of Ireland, and I grew up at a time, obviously, when we still had the borders and checkpoints, etc. So we grew up in a very interesting time, that's for sure. I lived in Limerick for 10 years, and then we moved to Galway, beautiful Galway, into the west of Ireland, and we just had the most wonderful childhood. I am from a family of six girls, and I am the youngest, and I am an identical twin. And we have had just the most incredible childhood growing up in Ireland. And then we moved to the UK for 3 years as well, and then we came back. So we've culturally been exposed to every culture that you can think of. And we've just had a wonderful growing up experience. And then I moved on to my career after having the kiddies.
Oh, great. And that's, doesn't that story kind of resonate with a lot of women? You have the children, you raise them, and then, you kind of think of yourself and your
Yeah.
career and next step. So, tell us about your career, Julie, your
Sure.
profession.
I've I've been working since I was 12 years old. I
Okay.
started washing the shelves in the local shop for bars of chocolate, and let me tell you, Martina, I thought I was elected coming home with this bar of Cadbury's chocolate. I thought it was brilliant. Little did I realise I was being totally exploited, but I didn't mind. Hard work was just in us. We were brought up with a very hard working ethic, and we moved on and I just kept working. I started working in a supermarket at 16. I mean, I've always worked right up until my son was about a year old. And that was the year of 2008. And if anybody remembers that year, it was the year of the crash.
Yeah.
And I had decided, I was working as a PA at the time, and I decided, all I'm doing is working to pay for crash fees. This is crazy. And so I thought, I'll quit my job. I'll go back in a year. It'll be totally fine. And the crash happened. And nobody was hiring PAs. That was a luxury item that had gone with the boom. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to spend this time at home with the kids. And it was the best 8 years that I've ever had. We did everything. We had so much fun, and it was wonderful being the stay-at-home mom. And then I decided when my son was in school and well settled, I'd start going back to work, and I went back working for an accountancy practice as a PA again. So it kind of progressed along from that. I've worked with some really interesting people over my career, and now I'm a senior exec with IFAC in credit control and anti-money laundering.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So, oh, that's great. So I'm probably then, I'm sure, they always say numbers is, can be a boring, well, I shouldn't say boring job, but it's tedious. So I'm sure, Jules Rules then must be, a great outlet for you to let off steam.
Jules Rules is not just an outlet from work, it's an outlet for my family because they
Okay.
don't have to deal with my madness. So this is my outlet to the world. Really, I mean, people say to me, it's a gift that they get to receive, but really it's a gift that my family don't have to put up with. So I mean, it purely was born out of a friend of mine said, "You are so funny. You should be on social media." I didn't even have an Instagram account, TikTok, nothing. All I had was Facebook. And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, there's loads of people like you online creating content. You should do it." And of course, my rubber arm didn't need much twisting. And I was like, sure, okay, I'll do it. And I put up a video on Instagram first and nothing, crickets, dead silence. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't for me. And by chance, my kids had started watching videos on TikTok. So I downloaded it to educate myself so I knew what my children were engaging with. And I put like the similar video on TikTok and it just went viral. First video, radio stations were sharing it. It took off and I thought, oh, I was just on the wrong app. These are my people here. And from there, Jules Rules was born.
Oh wow. But I
Yeah.
watched that video. I think that's the one is the 5 years ago about the mommy going to the grocery store, and if you put any more into that carriage, by God,
Yes.
you're going to hear about it. But I
That was
think,
my very
you know,
first one.
um, everyone could relate to that.
Uh-huh.
I can almost hear my own mother say that.
And through the teeth. If you touch one more hard chocolate, and Mary's over there looking at us, I'm going to kill you when I get you into the, are you Mary or were you? And it's more about the other people. It's the perception.
Right.
It's like, do not ask me for anything in front of the neighbours, in front of my friends. Don't embarrass me. You're not getting it, and I don't want to see. So just please don't do it to me.
So you talk about it, that TikTok really was the launching pad for you, but now Jules across all platforms. I mean, you're killing
Yeah.
it. I think is it like 78,000 followers on Instagram?
Yes, we're currently at 173,000 followers between the three platforms.
Wow.
But the
Wow.
funny part is TikTok is where I took off, but
Okay.
Instagram has exploded in the last year. Prior to that, Facebook. So they all seem to have their own like jumps, I suppose. And at the moment, Instagram is experiencing, I'm in my Instagram era, I suppose, is what you'd say. It's just exploded, yeah.
And I even feel, I mean, I've followed you for a while, thanks to one of my friends saying, Martina, you have to listen to Jules Rules. But I feel like this summer alone, it was just, I
Yeah.
mean, you were on fire.
It's something about the situational comedy. When I started putting the Irish mammy into the certain situations, like the secretary, the nurse, those type of situations, that's when it took off because I've been doing content with myself and Jacinta for years, but it was when I actually put myself in those different roles and jobs and having a bit of fun with it at the supermarket, etc. That was when people went, I can see myself, I can see my friend, I can
Right,
see my mom in that
right.
situation. Yeah,
And of course, we always say, if I can see the person, I know I can
yeah,
be the person. Yeah. So yeah, it
yeah,
really is resonating with people. So, talk to us a little bit, Julie, about, the Irish, mammies. They're running the school's, secretary, they're running the hospital, they're running for
yeah.
president, and maybe a little bit around, the content. Is it based on your own life at home, or
It's a
how,
bit of
how do you know the content?
it's a bit of everything, Martina. Like I think we really need to acknowledge something that's very important, and that is that women have really only been officially working for the last 50 years, particularly in Ireland. So if we even go back 2 generations, it was the law. They were expected to quit their jobs when they got married. There was none of this having children and working. There were a few pockets of industry like nurses, etc., where it was okay or acceptable because it was a need. But if you were a secretary or if you were doing any type of a labour job or a civil servant job, you were expected to quit your job and that was it. So we're only in the workforce for 50 years, particularly here. And look what we've done. Look at the changes we have made by adding women to the workforce. We have absolutely transformed the working environment. And as a woman who has been all the moms, and I say this all the time, I have been a stay-at-home mom, I've been a single mom, I've been a working mom. At no time have I ever been a part-time mother. So I might have worked part-time or worked full-time, but I've always been a very dedicated parent to the children. And I can honestly say we are very hard on each other. The working moms look at the stay-at-home moms and go, oh, they think they're better than me at the school gates because they stay at home all day with their kids. And then the stay-at-home moms look at the working moms and say, oh, they think they're great because they turn up in their little suits and their hair all done and their makeup done. And I feel like it has to stop. We are all equal in this and we're all in this together. And we have enough outside challenges to deal with as women in the workforce or outside the workforce that we have to come together and work together.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we have made great strides, but there's a lot more work to be done in it. I agree. We have to work together.
Absolutely. And we have to empower one another. And
Right.
I have three pillars on my page. So when I started my social media, I asked myself, what are the I always break things down into three things. So for me, it was like, what are the three things I want to do? And it was if I want to entertain, I want to uplift and empower, or I want to talk about a little bit about fashion or educate. So for me, it was really important that my page, if I'm creating content, I'm always asking myself, it's back to that touchstone. Am I being funny? No, I'm talking about something really serious. Or am I educating? So maybe I'm talking about something that's important to me. So it's always about going back to your touchstones and what are your values and what's really, really important to you and what do you want to share with the world. And that's why I think my page has taken off is that consistency back to those touchstones all the time.
Yeah, and I think too, Jules, you're very real, you're authentic, and I think that's what people are looking for nowadays, particularly women. To
Mhm.
be yourself.
100%. I say it all the time, but I live it. I don't compete with anyone but myself. The only competition I have in any room is myself. I want to give the best version of myself. If I go for an interview, I want to put my best foot forward. But I do not look at any other person as my competition. And if I can help them along as I'm moving along too, then I'm absolutely delighted to do that. So yeah, I'm a huge champion of women in business. I've joined Network Galway and I have just been shouting and screaming about Network Ireland since. I just absolutely love it. It's been one of the most wonderful experiences I've ever had, being part of a community of women that's all they're about is actually uplifting one another and celebrating each other. It's fantastic.
And I know another area, you're very passionate too about is the diaspora and
Yes.
supporting women across our global diaspora. And I guess, I live here in Boston and have been here over 20 years. And Jules, how do you think, your page, supports us to keep, to be connected to our roots and to be connected to home?
I don't think there's anything more important, Martina, than remembering who you are and where you've come from. I grew up always being told, my mother would say, don't tell people you're from Derry because we had southern accents, so we could technically get away with it. And I always told people I was from Derry. I was a very defiant child. I broke her heart.
Really,
And
Jules?
when I lived in Limerick, my mother, when we moved to Galway, then, Limerick had a bit of a reputation and she said, oh, don't tell people you're from Limerick, you're from Galway. And, so I always had this very strong sense of identity of who I was. It was unquestionable to me. So I think that's so important, especially when you live abroad. I have people message me every single day. I'm in Australia and I'm living away for the last 10 years, Julie. And it's just like home. It's like watching your videos. It's like, oh my God, that's my grandmother or that's my mammy and I share it with my mammy and I send it to her and then we laugh and we connect and it's like our conversation every day. That to me is just such a wonderful thing and it's so humbling for me to be a part of that relationship of connection between someone living abroad and someone being at home and missing one another and throwing the video into the family WhatsApp group and going, Mom, this is so mom, isn't it? And everyone starts a conversation of laughter. And laughter is such a wonderful thing to share between two people. So,
Oh, it
yeah.
is, and it just uplifts everyone. And I think, women, we've all the same challenges, whether you're living in Galway or Boston or Australia, we're all looking for that connection.
Yes, absolutely. And it doesn't change. Moving away from home doesn't fix those problems. If
No.
you have issues with your confidence, living somewhere else is not going to change that. You have to work on yourself first and start from the inside out. And it's like when my kids are cleaning their bedroom, I say, start from the ground up and start in a small piece and work your way out. It's the exact same way when you're developing yourself. You just start with a small piece and just work on that and then work your way out from there.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. And then, Julie, we hear so much talk now about social media and it can be just a terrible place for young girls and young women.
Mhm.
So how do you deal with some of the not so nice comments?
There's a couple of practical steps people can take. So you can use filters. I mean, one of the things I get all the time is my eyebrows. What's wrong with your eyebrows? Your eyebrows are so this, your eyebrows are like, okay, I grew up in the 80s. We don't have eyebrows, okay? We have to draw them on. It's a fact of life, and sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we have one this way and one that way, and that's just life. But I actually have filtered the word eyebrows out of all my social media pages. So you actually cannot message me the word eyebrows anymore. And so you can be a little bit clever with it that way. The other option you have is you do not engage, you delete and you block. If I even think that a message has something in it that's offensive, rude, inappropriate, I delete and block the person immediately. There's plenty of people following me. I do not need your engagement. Thanks so much for playing. I firmly believe social media is exactly like making friends in real life. You get what you put in. So if you engage with nasty people online, if you engage with vitriol and negative content, that's what the algorithm will keep feeding you. It's like you're watching this, you're engaging with it, and don't think because you don't like that content that if you're watching it, it's going to keep feeding it to you. So my algorithm is really fun and light and comedy and really motivational stuff. And that's because I have curated that for myself. And I get out of social media what I put in, which is positive, light, fun, helpful, empowering. You'll even notice that from following me in my comments. People are so lovely to each other. The second I see someone put up a nasty comment, even to one of my followers, if it's not directed at me and directed at somebody else, you're out of here. Your social media should be treated like your home. You would not open your front door to someone who would be come into your home and insult you or insult your family or hurt your feelings. So why would you let them do that to you on social media? Delete, block, move on. Do not engage with these people. That is exactly what they want.
Okay. Okay, that's a good outlook on it. And just to go back to the eyebrows, I mean, they're such a part of your, yeah,
Yeah,
of
part
your
of the
act.
mammy look. They're part of
Yeah. Yeah. Was that intentional or did it just happen?
I think we all know the mammy look. I mean,
Yeah.
and this is the other great thing is that culturally, I have so many women from all over the world, so many different cultures. That's the Mexican mom, that's the Spanish mom, that's the Nigerian mom. The amount of people who say that is exactly like my mother with a slight little difference here or there. But we're all the same. And it's like you see them misbehaving and you're like, and that's all they need. They just need the eyebrow, the one eyebrow up. And they don't take their eye off you and they're like, yes, Mary, yeah, I'd love a cup of tea, Mary. And that's it. They just don't take their eye off you. And you know, as a child, whatever it is I'm doing, I need to stop now because I'm going to get the hairdryer treatment on the way home, which is the shouting at the horn and giving out. And look, there was nothing perfect about growing up in the 80s, but it was also kind of cool and kind of perfect. And we had an era of incredible music and movies and creativity and innocence. And I really hope that this generation can really try and reclaim that for themselves and not share everything. Because although I'm very authentic, I don't share a lot about my personal life in terms of my husband or my children very much. And that's a choice. That's a choice you can make. And I don't want people to think that they feel like they have to put everything out there, warts and all. I don't do that. And I don't think you should feel you have to. You know, you have an entitlement to your privacy.
Yeah, and I think it can be a fine line when you are, you are a public figure.
Hmm.
Um, people feel that you should be posting everything about yourself.
And they will ask very personal questions. And even if they ask me very personal questions in the comments, I delete those questions and I don't respond to them. And then if they persist, I block them. So I can sometimes understand that sometimes people might push a boundary and not realize that they're being rude or disrespectful. But if they push the boundary too many times, I'll block them as well. Because again, I don't have time to explain that to you. Like if you can't pick up on the fact that I've deleted your comment twice and you've asked again, then you're not picking up what I'm putting down. So we need to move on from that. And I just think people need to stop explaining themselves. Like you just need to deal with social media the same way you would in your home. You would not let strangers into your house who are disrespectful to you. So
I think I've never heard it explained like that. I think that's a really great takeaway,
mm,
Julie, a really great takeaway. And I'm sure then on the other hand, I'm sure you've received some probably fabulous messages and probably I'm sure helped
mm,
so many women probably at their
yeah.
kind of I suppose, darkest times.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a few that stick out for me. One was from a wonderful lady who shared with me that she rings her sister every evening and plays my videos down the phone to her on the landline because she doesn't have a smartphone. And that broke my heart. I thought it was the sweetest thing ever. And then when I shared the story with my followers, they were like, I have a spare smartphone. Can we send it to her? Like, can we? And so I reached out to the lady and I said, look, I don't want to be rude or offensive to your sister, but this is what's being offered. And she went, Julie, her son went out and bought her a smartphone. So we're going to try and get her. It wasn't about the financial expense of it. It was just that she wasn't very good with technology. So she's like, no, just play it to me down the phone. So that broke my heart. And there was another wonderful lady who had twins. And she said to me when they're in the NICU and obviously they're being supported as they get a little bit bigger. And the nurse had said to her, look, when you're pumping your breast milk for the babies, watch something that kind of distracts you and makes you laugh. And she said, you're what I watch every night to distract me while I'm pumping the breast milk, to keep my mind off the breast milk while I'm actually enjoying. And she said, you'll be more productive that way. And I just thought, isn't that wonderful that I'm that little moment in her day of something quite special where she's doing something amazing for her children, but she's also doing something really nice for herself, which is she's having a little bit of a giggle. And that's so rewarding to me. Yeah.
Yeah, especially for for you that's so passionate about self-care and women taking care of themselves.
Absolutely. It's really, I mean, my mother drilled it into me. She raised 6 girls and it was tough. And we were all like one year after the other. And she always said to us, like, you have to put some time into yourself, look after yourself, or you won't be here to look after anybody. So it's
Right.
really important. And she was very glamorous and, she had the beautiful hair and the nails and she was really, really looked after herself. So that's really important to me that my children, especially my daughter, sees that I do make time for myself and I get my nails done, I get my hair done and things that I can afford to do. And when I couldn't afford to do it, I would buy a face mask in the chemist and put it on. I used to do pamper nights all the time when the kids were small, all 3 of us. And we would do foot spas and face masks and watch a movie. And, for me, it's really important, not just for myself, but that I instill it in them that they are used to taking care of themselves.
It's almost a little bit like, you hear the announcement in the airplane, put on your oxygen mask first if there's, an emergency
Yeah.
so you can, take care of each other. Yeah, but I think too, Julie, women, I mean, I'm the oldest I'm the oldest of 11. And, I saw how hard, my mother worked and all mothers of that time too. But it's almost like they were afraid to get their nails done or kind of, I guess not afraid, that's probably, but guilty. I guess they felt guilty for taking care of themselves first.
I think there was a huge amount of judgment as well. It's like, oh, look at who does your one thing she is with the nails. Like we are a very, we say one thing and then we say another. And it's, that's why the comedy's so relatable. It's like, we're saying, how are you married? Well, you're looking, look at the state of her. Have you seen her? Look at her hair. Like, I mean, can you believe who does she think she is going blonde? So like, there's a lot of that goes on. And I think back then it was really rife. Like, I mean, you would have been judged. Like, you're not a very good mother. You can't be because you're off getting your hair and nails done like some fancy woman, you know. So I think we have really changed the script on that, and we have accepted that it's absolutely acceptable for us as women to look after ourselves, treat ourselves to something, you know.
Oh no, I agree. I know, and yeah, it definitely has. It definitely has got better. And another thing I know you're really passionate about too, Julie, is mentoring small business owners. So talk a little bit about
Absolutely.
mentoring
I
and
do quite a bit of it through Network Ireland and even connecting that with the diaspora. Like we have virtual membership with Network Ireland. So it's wonderful. We have people connecting all over the world and they come on the virtual calls. And it's really, really nice because if we have somebody in Ireland that's maybe setting up a business and they're looking to scale or go to the States or
Mhm.
something like that, we're like, oh, actually, there's 2 members that are in Boston or 2 members that are in New York and they're actually they can link you up with the right people and it's just wonderful. And again, we're back to women helping each other and like the women abroad are more than delighted to help out and say yeah, let me put you in contact with this person because they've worked so hard to get where they are. And they want to throw that rope back as well, especially to home, because we want that connection of, oh, that's so wonderful. I got to help somebody from my hometown. And I was talking to this woman from Donegal, or you're on a virtual call and you hear the accent and you're like, oh, that's just like my mammy, you know, the different accents that you'll hear on the call. So that to me is really important. And what I do is I just come in and see where I can add value. There was one woman in particular I was mentoring, and we had a call, and I can't think how long it was. It was easily about 35 minutes. She spoke straight for 35 minutes and she didn't stop. And I want to do this, and then I want to do that. And so what I'm doing with this and what I'm doing with that. And at the very end, I said, you're not finishing anything at the moment because you've all these projects. So she couldn't kind of get clarity in her business as to where she wanted to take it. And I said to her, I want you to stop this, I want you to stop that, and I want you to stop this. All I want you to focus on is this piece of business right here. Get this 100% right. Then you can diversify off to these wonderful projects that you have, because they were great ideas, but she wasn't finishing anything off. And when she got clarity for that, the one question I asked her was, when do you plan? And she said, what do you mean plan? I'm just going like 90 miles an hour from 7 in the morning till. I said, but if you're not planning, how are you measuring? How are you taking metrics? How are you figuring out that your business is successful or not working? So I made her take an hour every morning between 10 and 11 to plan her day, reflect on the week before, plan ahead for the week and the day and the month ahead. We had a phone call about 2 weeks later, completely different woman. She was speaking slowly. She was like, I've had a great week. This has been more successful than it's ever been. And her whole business has taken off. And she's actually traveling the world doing what she does now. It's absolutely incredible. So that's what I do, is I'm there as a sounding board. I have no skin in the game. I'm not there, to take. I'm there to give and add some real value, not from someone who maybe is emotionally invested either. And sometimes we need that, because family and friends are going to give you advice based on their fears. And they're going to say, oh, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't set up that business if I were you. Now, that's very high risk. I heard of somebody down the road and they set up a business and, they died. They set up a business and they died. And you're like, oh my goodness. So sometimes your friends and family aren't the best people to go to as sounding boards, because they love you and they want the best for you, but they are never going to see your vision.
No, and I think people underestimate the importance of mentorship. I mean, I've had great mentors over the years, and I'm sure you've had too, Julie.
Mm-hmm. I've worked with some incredibly successful people over my career, and when I worked with these people, I was a sponge. I was asking questions, I was learning, I was watching. And if that's one bit of advice I could give people who are on their way up, be a sponge. Ask questions, watch everything, learn from the people who are above you where you want to be, and figure out how they're doing that and how they're doing it successfully. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, yes, I know family are great too, but if when you're not, emotionally invested, I think you see the picture much clearer. And then, being an entrepreneur, setting up a business, there's a certain element of risk. And then if the family, as you said, are not, risk adverse, they're not giving probably the best advice.
They're not, but it's coming from a place of love, but it's also coming from a place of fear. They don't want to see you fail, but no success was ever born out of just plain sailing. Success is born out of failure. There's a great guy in the States, and his name is Jacob Brown, and his hashtag on LinkedIn is literally fail forward. Hashtag fail forward. That is what we're doing in life. We're failing forward. We make mistakes, we calibrate, we move on. We don't get something right, we learn from it, we move on, we become better, quicker, faster, slicker. That's how business is successful. Any entrepreneur who has a success story has 15 failed businesses behind them usually. And they will share that because they want people to understand, I didn't just arrive here today successful, no more than I didn't just arrive here today out of nowhere with my social media. I have been consistently there, putting up reels, putting up videos, creating content for 5 years before it actually hit and took off, and I found my rhythm and I found my niche. So, keep going. Don't give up on it, and keep working. If you really, really believe in something, keep going at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I saw recently on one of your posts. I think it was after Network Ireland Limerick, where I think you put up a post about somebody wanting to leave their job. That it's that it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to fit into this box. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. I hope I have the right.
Absolutely. No, you're right. So I get a lot of people saying to me, I'm really unhappy in my job and I've asked for this and I've asked for that. Did you get it? No. And how long did you stay after you didn't get what you asked for? I'm here now about 6 years after that. And I'm like, what? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, and I just want people to stop taking it personally. If you go to your boss or you go to your company and you're like, hey, I want to go for this promotion, and you go for the promotion and you don't get it, that's a business decision that's been made. Don't take it so personally. We get very emotionally invested in our careers because we're not long at it. And it means something to us because we do work exceptionally hard. So when we get a no, it's very tough on us. But the problem is we let it sit with us way too long. You need to recover out of that an awful lot quicker and be like, okay, well, that's your business decision. My business decision is going to be that I'm going to find somewhere where I do feel the value that I'm putting in is actually commensurate with my title, my salary, my benefits, my package, whatever that may be for you. What is your need? Um, and that's what's really important to me is mentoring women, how to ask for that money, how to ask for those promotions, how to have the confidence to say to themselves, no, I am who I am. I know what my value is. The business may not see that anymore, but that's okay. I'm going to go over here where they do see that value and they really appreciate it and they want my value. So I'm going to go there instead.
But I think too, it does take probably a courage to stand up, Julie, and and know your worth and say, well, if I didn't get the promotion or I've been here X amount of years, that I'm going to leave. It that takes courage.
It does, but you have to pick your heart, Martina. Pick your
Yeah.
heart. Would you
No.
rather get up every day and force yourself into the suit and force yourself into the car and you're sick in your stomach because you resent it, you feel unappreciated, you feel talked down to, or whatever the issue is at work, and you get into that car and you go to that job every day? That's hard.
Yeah.
That takes courage because I can tell you something, I've done it and it was hard. It was one of the toughest experiences of my life, being in a job where I was really extremely unhappy, very stressed out, but I was working the hardest I've ever worked in my life. So pick your hard. That's hard. Or do you want to pick your hard where you put yourself out there and you actually succeed from it? What's the
Yeah.
worst that could happen? That you're maybe a bit more unhappy again? You were already unhappy.
And I suppose, yeah, well, we just have to keep shouting from the rooftops, Jules, that women need to know their worth.
100%. And I said this recently in an interview. I said, I have never allowed anybody to write on me and tell me what my value is. I know what my value is. If you don't see that, that's okay with me. But this is still my value here that I'm holding for myself. The problem is we often as women and like men do it too, where we allow other people to come into our lives and tell us what our value is and write on the people that we are and say, that's what you're worth. That's what you're worth. No, 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 no. Here's my worth here. That doesn't change no matter who you are, no matter who I'm talking to. But it's the same way back. I hold everybody on a pedestal until they show me something different. So when I meet people, I meet them with a very kind, warm, positive energy. You show me something different, that's it. Safe home. I wish you well. I don't have time for it at all.
So what's next for Jules?
Martina, I don't even think I can verbalize the next 2 weeks. It's so busy.
Oh, come
Obviously
here. I
I'm,
heard, Jules, we want you on September the 20th.
listen, don't even play with me, Martina, because I'm telling you now, I will get on a plane and I will find you. I will Liam Neeson with a special set of skills. I'm not even playing. I've done the podcast tonight. I'm going to a TV premiere tomorrow. A TV premiere. Now you're getting the hot tea because that's not even released on my socials yet. I was
Breaking
playing the
news! Breaking news!
breaking news. I'm going to a TV premiere tomorrow night for The Walsh Sisters, which is Marion Keyes' books that have been translated into a TV show. So I'm going to meet Marion Keyes. I mean, is this my life? Is this my life? Um, the next night I'm going to see Downton Abbey with all the girls from Network Galway. So really looking forward to that. The weekend, we're going out for dinner with my daughter. The week after that, I have the awards in Killarney. So that's the national. So I won Galway Networker of the Year. And then we go down to Killarney for the national. So fingers crossed for
Fingers
Julie
crossed.
that I win the nationals.
Yes.
And if not, I'm walking away very happy. I gave it 100%. I was so happy with my interview. If I don't win, that's absolutely okay too. I'm going to have a ball. I'm going to have a ball.
And any plans to come stateside?
I think I get that question probably once a week from most places. So when are you coming to Canada? When are you coming to Australia? When are you coming to America? When are you coming to Boston? The answer is I don't know. I mean, I keep getting asked, am I doing live gigs as well? I feel like if this became my job, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. Like
Okay.
I worked very, very hard to get where I am in my career, and I learned the hard way. There are no guarantees in life. The crash happened and I was out of work, and it was tough. And so for me, I love my career. I love working full time. I love doing this on the side, and I love doing things for charity or what have you. But if I ever do a gig, I promise I will bring it to Boston, and you all better buy tickets.
Okay. Okay. So you're not closing the door. You're not closing the door. Okay.
Never say never. Never
Never.
say never.
Oh, well, Judy, this has been absolutely fabulous. So will you close us out with a little Irish mammy?
An Irish mammy. Well, actually, if you just wouldn't mind, sorry, sorry, 1 second. I just into, what's the crack? I'm filming a podcast here with people in Boston. No, not Boston, County Clare, Boston, America. You did what? Okay, I just need you to stay put. I'll be there in a minute. Right, okay. Bye, 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 bye. She's after getting herself into a little bit of bother in the supermarket. I'm going to have to go down and pick her up. I apologise for that, Martina.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, we'll let you go to take care of
yeah,
her.
yeah, I do apologise. But she's going through life by accident, Martina. So if I don't pick her up, there's going to be she'll make a holy show of me in the supermarket.
Well, we wouldn't want Jacinta making a show of you.
No, no, Jacinta is definitely my penance here on earth, but it's going to get me straight to heaven. So that's the only reason we're still friends. Yeah.
Thank you, Jules. This has been a riot, and thank you for being so real and just yourself.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.